I was able to give some thoughts on TikTok. One second. Let me just refresh this. Oh boy. Have to change the title. One second, guys. I got my water this time so my throat doesn't get messed up. Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay. All right, guys, give me a second here because there's going to be a lot to cover in this video, and I'm going to talk as calm as possible because nothing's worth me getting worked up over, really, especially not anymore, guys. Let's see what I can put for the tags. Is that the tag that I want to use? I need to get a high chair, guys, when I stand up and like talk to you all. Okay, that's fine. I'll use that. Okay, so guys, unfortunately, my FYP on TikTok was trying to show me a so-called service. Let me just make sure that my audio is good before I begin talking. Oh, Lord. Now I gotta add tags on this. This may be a long video, guys, unfortunately. All my videos have been almost over an hour, if not an hour. This may be, sadly, another long video, guys, for me. Sadly. Because a lot of people, I think, need reassurance that they feel how I feel and vice versa. So I said, you know what? Might as well come on here because if not, I think people are gonna, you know, I'm sure they want to hear what I have to say. So here I am. I did get some rest. I think I got maybe like 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep before. Right now it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not really supposed to be up, but before going to TikTok, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go to YouTube because I could talk for an hour on there, right? Like with TikTok, it's kind of short, so you can't really talk for long. Yeah. Deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Okay, so first of all, I want to open up with saying that I understand how atheists feel. Let me just go ahead and make sure my audio is good because I'm ready to talk now. I should have brought honey downstairs, right, guys? Maybe I should have had honey. Wow, 42 people live with me. Thank you all for the support. Oh my God, I'm shocked. I was expecting like 9 people. Y'all are up tonight. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, at least where I am. Maybe it's the morning time in England, right? In England, it's probably, let me see what time it is in London right now. What time is it in London? London, my home country. Big up the UK. Be there soon. I'll be there. I'll be back home soon, guys. 8 o'clock. Yeah, that explains it. How about Australia? Australia time zone. What time is it in Australia? I probably should have. I have honey over there in the pantry, guys. If my throat gets itchy, I'll just go grab some honey real quick, probably in a minute. 5 p.m. in Australia. What time is it in Japan? What time is it in Japan? What time is it in South Africa? 4 p.m. What time is it in South Africa? 9 a.m. Okay, wow. Maybe I need to get like a world clock system to put on my wall. I've actually was thinking of getting that a while ago, and I saw a map at IKEA, but I didn't see a actual like anybody who's been raised in Florida when they were young, Wanadu City. Many people don't know what Wanadu City is, but and I went to Wanadu City as a child in the airport, the mock-up airport. They had all these like world clocks and that just came to my to my mind of all the different times of the world, different parts of the world. And I'm like, I want one of those because I have a very international audience as well as you know, Western, if you will, and I love to know what time it is around the world. I love stuff like that. So I'm always like, what time is it here? What time is it there? Even in my clock app on my iPhone, I just updated my iOS to the 26th yesterday night. So everything is glassy. It's really cool, guys. Like, people hate it. I mean, everyone has a right to their opinion, but I really fancy it. I like it because it looks see-through, it looks soft, versus the other Apple thing, like the other Apple layout looked kind of like bulky to me. I like the update. I like the iOS 26 update, by the way, guys. With the glass look, I like it. I just got it on my phone, so I like it. I'm gonna grab some honey because this video is gonna be an hour long, I can already tell. And I've been talking to y'all for hours and hours. I mean, you know, this is gonna be a tough video. So, um, let me get some honey. I need some honey. My throat hurts. All right. All right. So because I love you guys, I have a packet of honey and I have a peppermint. I'm gonna be touching upon a couple things here that I feel led to talk about. It could sound like a ramble, it could sound like a little rant, you know, whatever floats your boat, guys. Whatever floats your boat. It may sound like I'm rambling, you know, it may not to some people, but you know, I just want to kind of express my thoughts. So that's what I'm gonna do. So let's get one thing out the way. I've heard a lot of a particular political ideology say that people get pets instead of having kids. I wanted to nip that in the bud, okay? Because I was it crossed my mind yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I think I don't know where I was gonna put this, but I just had it in the back of my head, right? And I'm like, you know what? I want to nip something in the bud, okay? In no way are pets replacing children. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about a couple of different. Anybody who joins live 92 in the chat, thank you all. I'm shocked that you guys are even here because when I last looked up, it said 9 people, and I was happy with 9 people. You guys know my heart, so when I see 9 people, I'm like, great, awesome, 9 people, wow, that can share this moment with me, awesome. And then I see all these people, I'm like, oh my god, this is like crazy. Very grateful, very happy because I'm happy to be here, right? And so I may just be touching on I'm just gonna let everything in my mind right now just kind of come out with you guys. I have pets. You guys know that I have pets. And I don't see me having pets as children, for the record. And I think a lot of progressive people can relate to that. I think it's been a statement that's been kind of perverted and weird for a long while. We know where it started, right? We know where all that kind of language started with, oh, you know, people are having pets instead of kids. I just want to put out here a little PSA that that's not how I see my pets. My pets are pets. I don't see my pets as children. I don't see my pets as alternatives to babies. None of that shit. And that I think that I think is a perfect segue into the various topics here I'm going to cover, hopefully under an hour, because like I said, I've been talking a lot of late, happily, but it's been like, wow, there's just so much to cover. Let me get my honey. And I think that is a perfect segue into how I'm feeling about basically everything. So first of all, I want to say that my heart goes out to agnostics out here and atheists, okay? Um, after what I begrudgingly had to see, because it was fucking everywhere, at least in America. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. If not, kind of think through what happened yesterday, right? What happened on the 21st of September? Just give a guess, right? Because I can't say everything, obviously, in the way I want to, right? Have to still be careful. Have to be aware of, the internet these days. Yeah. After sadly seeing a couple speeches yesterday, I was really thinking about atheists, and I was really thinking about agnostics. And if I went into that alone, that'd be like 30 minutes alone. But I just want to say to the agnostics and the atheists out here, my heart is really with you, because because what you're seeing, especially in America, right? For my international viewers, I'm going to do my very best to kind of cover this because it's very traumatic, it's very strange, it's very weird, and it's very scary, honestly, to some degree. But my mind was like thinking about atheists, as I was watching what I was watching, my mind was thinking about atheists and agnostics, because they're not subscribed, if you will, to having to go to any particular building, any place of worship per se. And as somebody who was raised in the church, grew up in the church, not by choice, I was like basically forced, like a lot of us are. And that's just kind of like the norm in your household when you're a child. I always had many issues with it, with different things they do and say. And it's like a fear tactic religion. I'm not going to lie to you. Like a lot of different religions, personally, to me, do feel like fear tactics. But you try to separate the fear tactics from faith, right? You try to separate the fear tactics and the manipulation from believing in an omnipotent, right? You try to separate that. And what's happening in America right now is clearly, I don't even know how to say this. This is so creepy, but there's clearly something wrong, right? And I don't blame atheists. I don't blame agnostics. After what I saw yesterday, I really don't blame them, because it's so obvious how strange it is, how jarring it is to see a crowd of people who all look the same. I didn't see much diversity. I was looking for it. They all walk the same. They all talk the same. The most disturbing part for me was the glaring praise and worship. They were trying to play some praise and worship songs that I've heard myself, actually. Not that I've played myself. Some I have, some I haven't. And they blasted it in what looks like a stadium to me. It looked like a stadium to me. And after what the person who's supposed to be in charge of the country said, it was like a twilight zone for me. It was very odd to see people that were clapping and chanting and the things that he was saying was clearly not Christian. Like, if you had to put a label on it, like, the things that he was saying were clearly not Christian. And I hate titles, I hate labels, but little segue, I did see the Disney stock. I did see the videos, right, of so many people, especially on TikTok, who canceled their Disney vacations, canceled Hulu, canceled Disney Plus. Good job. Good job to those who felt like they needed to do that. Thankfully for me, I didn't have any of those. I have had those things in the past. It was really perfect timing because I actually canceled mine a long time ago. And I saw people, you know, in mass saying, like, sell your Disney stock, sell this, cancel that. And a lot of people did. And I wish that they could actually show the accurate numbers, because like I said, with the world we're living in, especially in America, a lot of things are hyped up. So it's really hard to tell, like, you know, truth about a lot of stuff. It's really hard to like get the real like facts and evidence and numbers these days. It's really a shame, but it is. And I've seen people throw around numbers like 3.6 billion, 1 billion, you know, like just crazy numbers. And they're claiming, right? They're claiming that Disney lost like at least $1 billion overnight because of canceling Jimmy Kimmel, pulling him off the air, right? So, putting that into perspective, okay? Putting that into perspective and then seeing a whole stadium of what's supposed to be praise and worship music being blasted, and then with the FCC, like, everybody knows to some degree that clearly, because let's be real, this person was not a progressive. The person is not a progressive. So to say that this person and this person and this commentator didn't collaborate with the Disney CEO, didn't collaborate with the FCC and get Jimmy Kimmel canceled or pulled off the air, I should say, is a fucking lie. It is the easiest lie to spot in the entire universe. And the fact that they have tried to fucking punk bitch us and gaslight us and say this was a Disney executive decision. Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? Do you think that Disney wants to lose $1 billion, let alone $3 billion or $6 billion, or have people cancel $20,000 plus worth of itinerary? Do people really think that these people are stupid or what? Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. Okay? Because the reality is that if we had a madame president, this would not be happening. For all my international viewers, this would not be happening. All the chaos you see right now would not be happening because their agenda, their ideals are the exact opposite of everything that's happening right now. And for someone as myself, who was raised in the church and was in the choir, was in the praise and worship, like, I've been there, seen it, done that, right? Only thing I haven't done is write a book about it. Like, you want to talk about a church kid? I know the ins and outs, okay? The scandals, the lies, the gaslighting. I know all of it, right? I know their tactics, right? And so for me to see someone who is supposed to be uniting people call progressive dogs. He called us dogs. He called us losers. He said that he doesn't want us to do well. He basically called anybody who's not like him in the country a loser, a lunatic. Yeah, he called us a lunatic. He used every word but a child of God. And the live stream, not even chat, because I wasn't really in the chat. The live stream, that's a better term. The live stream that I sadly, begrudgingly was in, as soon as that person came on the stage, the room went from, like, being honest with you guys, I think like 8.7 thousand to like 2.5. And a lot of people that supported that particular debater, they made comments like, oh, he's talking about himself again. He's talking about himself again. They don't like him. Okay. I'm sure some love him and kiss his ass and kiss his feet and give him a kiss on the cheek. I'm sure there's people that are fans of both people, right? They're fans of him and they're fans of the other guy. But that, the viewership went from here to here because it was so divisive. Okay. 300 plus in the room. You guys are amazing. I'm shocked. Guys, I was trying to go to sleep. I was trying to go to sleep. And I said, okay, I was going to go, for those who just joined, I was going to go on TikTok, right? And then I said, no. Like, I'm going to go on YouTube, like my channel, because then I could talk for as long as I want, right? So, so think about that. Think about it. A US leader calling people everything but a child of God at a service that is supposed to be commemorating somebody's life, giving somebody their flowers. And literally for like at least 20 minutes, I heard this person call progressives everything but a child of God. And the saddest part about it is there's some people that actually believe that. There's some people even could be watching right now who literally, literally will think they're a good person and sit in their living room and watch that and say, yep, I think he's right. I think they are lunatics. I think they are dogs. Yeah, I think he's spot on. What? How can you say you're a child of God? How can you say you're a child of God and you're bad-mouthing people? You're not a Christian, okay? And if there is a heaven, you're not going there, okay? And I think any real Christian would know that and believes that, okay? But if you break it down on a molecular level, okay, it's divisive. And I literally felt like I was in a twilight zone. I don't know. I genuinely, if there is a God, like, and I'm pretty sure there is, but that's not even the point. I'm just saying, like, if there is a God and we all were handcrafted and picked, why the heck are we on a planet with people like that? Why is, like, it's weird because under Obama, America was not like this. For those who, want the details, like, I lived in the Obama administration in America, okay? Just so those who don't think I know, I experienced Obama twice. In fact, I've seen Obama live. Now that we're on the topic, okay? which was a massive privilege. Massive privilege. Okay, massive privilege. And I don't recall hearing any president call anybody lunatics, call anybody dogs, and then claim they're Christian after that. I don't recall knowing or hearing or seeing any American president call a whole, basically a whole population of people names, name calling at a memorial service that's supposed to be celebrating and honoring somebody's life. And America is in the critical zone. America is in a very dangerous place, in my opinion. Okay, I'm not stating it as a fact, but the whole world is like on the edge of their seat. You know what I'm saying? Like majority of the world, besides North Korea, of course, besides Russia and North Korea, the rest of the world, is looking at America like bad kids in a pram, you know, with like fire ants and massive fires, and they're looking over there like, what the heck is going on over there? So after that abysmal, like when I say abysmal, I mean abysmal, I was deeply disturbed, and if we want to talk about a God, they're not worshiping the same God that we're worshiping, for those who worship God, okay? And I'm screenshotting because you guys know how I am with YouTube. I keep receipts, honey. I keep receipts. What God are they worshiping? I don't know, but it ain't my God. And you know, I hate to sound like that, and I hate to make it. I mean, I think it's obvious. Like when I saw them walking out of the stadium, in my head, I'm like, we don't see God the same way. We don't. And you know, if there is a heaven, please have me as far as possible, because I didn't live my life like that. And I don't see people like that. I don't see people as dogs. I don't see people as lunatics, as you know, this person called people that are progressives lunatics. How are you a leader? How are you an American president and your name calling on national TV at what is supposed to be a humbling, you know, commemorative service? You're using that as a political rally, which is what I saw a lot of people were saying how it seemed fake. There was no tears. It was creepy. It was dangerous looking. There was trash everywhere. You know, there was footage of all this, the trash all over the outside of this. I mean, do you think a progressive would do that? No. Do you think that progressives would leave trash all over the stadium grounds? Because see, progressives believe in climate change, right? They believe in recycling. So they believe in treating the earth with respect. So if anybody is close to God, it's them, because they don't believe in trashing where you live. They don't believe in abusing the planet for money, right? And so their behavior kind of like speaks for itself. So when I was watching it, sadly, and it was very briefly, but it was brief enough, I really felt like, you know what? Are we in a parallel universe? I mean, we don't see God the same way. We don't. And we probably don't worship the same God. Even if you say you're a Christian, like we probably don't worship the same God. Like on the real, because nothing is more disturbing when you see somebody trying to tell people to fight, tell people to, like, there was nothing godly about it. And that's how I know that, like, at least in America, like, something is really, really wrong, guys. Like, something's really, really wrong. And I just detached. You know, I was overstimulated. I was getting a headache. I'm not gonna lie to you. After I literally just turned off all the lights in my bedroom, this, I'm telling you guys the truth. I turned off all the lights in my bedroom, and I literally was like, that's it. Like, whatever, you know, I can't, because it's very personal. I can't say, like, I don't want to, because I feel like it's going to take too much time to explain, but I just laid down. I laid down and I was like, this world is strange. This country is strange. Life is weird. Life doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes any sense. You know, like, life has felt weird for a very long time. And especially in times like this, it's really hard to see the point. It's really hard to see what this is all about. And it's even more confusing to me to and I'm not trying to question God, because I'm not, you know, in the business of doing that. But it was really hard for me to, like, sit there and not feel like we're in a split reality or something. Like, we're not even on the same planet, because how can you think it's acceptable to leave trash all over the streets? How can you think it's acceptable to be name calling people? How do you think it's acceptable to be playing praise and worship music while spewing hate at the same exact time? Like, how are these things acceptable? Okay? That was what was confusing me, is like, what is your definition of God? What does God mean to you if you think that this is okay behavior? And so I just came to the quick conclusion that we're not worshiping the same God, you know. And then to make it even weirder, we have all this discourse, this discourse about a rapture, right? And I told you guys I was raised in the church, so maybe there is some advantage to that, because I can kind of give you guys a personal perspective. Like, I left the church, was it 18 or 21 years old? One of the two. I didn't leave God, I left the church. Okay, it's a big difference. And, well, the organized church that was full of hypocrites, because they were awful people. I mean, the worst people you'll find is in a church. I'll tell you that right now. Like, the quote that says, "There's no hate like Christian love." That's one of the best quotes of the year. I don't know who coined it. I don't know who, but that is. And the sad thing is, that's not even what God represents. And that's what is so creepy about all this, is like, that's not the real God. That's not really what God is supposed to be about, or is in reality. But as we've known back as far as the Roman Catholic Church, a lot of things have been twisted. A lot of things have been used for their own political gain. That's just a fact of life. People can use any text in any context for any purpose and say that because I'm saying it, it's correct. Doesn't mean it's true, but people love to do that. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I know that agnostics and atheists, you know, they're kind of like Puritans in a way. Like, they're like, I don't know, guys, but they understand it more than the average person, because, like, what I think like agnostics and atheists, and what I've heard and what I've researched, like, what their perspective is like, from their perspective, like, religion is like a virus. What's his name? Is it Christopher Dawkins? Let me get the guy's name. There's this one guy that I remember years back I would listen to for you know, I was interested in his point of view. What is his name? I think it's Christopher something. Christopher Hitchens. Maybe those of you out here know, especially in England, because aren't they both British? I think Christopher Hitchens was British, right? Yeah, Christopher Hitchens, very intelligent. Oh yeah, there we go. Richard Dawkins Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, right? Now, they're both atheists, I believe. They're both scientists, both authors, both atheists, right? And Richard Dawkins, excuse me. Richard Dawkins, I think he wrote a book called The God Delusion. Now, maybe some of you guys have read it. I haven't read it, but I'm interested to read it now. I can't lie. He describes religion as a virus, as something that it takes over the mind, like mind control. And so when you hear speakers like that, people who, have dedicated their life to research and community and science, you know, I can see why they say that. You know what I'm saying? Especially somebody who was raised in the church. Like I can definitely empathize and sympathize and take light in what they're saying, because if you look at the condition of America now, and also Richard Dawkins, and this is I'm so glad I put this in this video because this is really important. Richard Dawkins spoke about the megachurch epidemic in America. He if you guys, want more context with that, I mean, that's a whole other video within itself. But for example, those who don't know him, I definitely encourage you to look him up. Richard Dawkins, he spoke about that. He spoke about, how, big churches are a business. In America, it's a business. And he described religion as a virus. It's a virus that, distorts reality, distorts your mind, and makes you a bad person, quite frankly, because you look at other people as inferior if they don't think and believe like you. And the difference with agnostics, and if they want to use the slur, because now the word liberal is a slur, which I wasn't aware of. Because whenever they say liberal, it always sounds like they're trying to they make it sound like it's a slur. It's not a slur, but to them it is. And they use language like, that those liberals, those liberal. And I'm just like, first of all, as Cat Williams said, if you don't like something, then why do you keep talking about it, right? Like, if you don't like a person, how they think, what they do, then why do you put so much energy into it? It's like, why don't you just live your life and let people live theirs? But there is this sadistic thing about it, at least in America, where it's almost like venomous. And the perspective is like, if you don't think how I think, you don't go to church, you don't do this, you don't do that, like you're destined to hell, you're doomed to hell. And now we're seeing this fear tactic again, right? Where allegedly there was, which I think is personally, I think it's insane, but people are gonna people. There was allegedly a South African pastor who claims that God came to him. Well, Jesus, he said, came to him, and told him when he's coming back, which the Bible clearly states that no man knows a day or hour. But here we go again. We have these self-renowned, self-acclimatized, self-acclaimed pastors telling the general public that I know when God's going to come back, and he's going to come back September 23rd to September 24th, and you better get ready, sell your car, sell your house, do this, do that. And that's what Richard Dawkins is talking about, is this hive mind, right? This is what he's talking about, is people who, they just take things too far. They take things too far. And I think as an adult, anybody who says to you anything in regards of like, this is the absolute truth, this is the absolute, that fundamentally you cannot prove that. You cannot prove that. You don't have that jurisdiction. You know, you cannot say that if you don't think how I think, that you're destined to go anywhere unless somebody is conditioned enough as an adult, which once again, the key word is adult. As an adult, you're supposed to think for yourself. If an adult wants to walk to someone's church or walk to someone's rally or whatever and let somebody just massage their brain, that's up to them. Okay. But if there's people who don't want to be massaged and don't want to be conditioned and don't want to be programmed, and they want to be like, you know what, I'm an atheist, I'm an agnostic, I'm spiritual, I was raised, you know, whatever it is, they have the right to do that. It's called free will. So we either have free will or we don't, right? We either have the right to liberty and happiness or we don't. It can't be an either or thing. And so that's what it reminded me of when I was watching all that go down, and them trying to like blast once again like all these like Christian songs, and all I see is just like hate being spewed out. I'm like, we don't have the same version of God. We don't. We just don't. And it's really getting difficult, guys, especially in America, to avoid people like this. I can't even tell you guys, and you know, I'll bring this up because it's one and the same, right? Like it's a very controversial thing, so I think it's appropriate to kind of bring a parallel. Like, I can't even count. I've lost count. Not that I'm counting, but I've lost count as a word of speech, figure of speech, of the amount of conversations I've had with people, and automatically they want to talk about the jab. Everybody heard that phrase, the jab, the vaccine, right? Automatically they want to talk. First, it was the vaccine's a mark of the beast, right? That was another conspiracy. I mean, when does the loony bin get empty? You know, like when do you begin to start like questioning, like, is this rational? Is this healthy? Because why do you feel the need? My thing is, why do you feel the need, right, to want someone to agree with you on a jab being a chip or the antichrist, or like every month there's a different version of what the antichrist is. So, you know, there's only so many lies you can keep up with, right? And so my thing is this: if you do believe in the antichrist, why as these human beings, why do we think that we have the ultimate definition? Why don't we just, if you subscribe, if, like I said, if you prescribe to that, if you follow that, right, let the Bible talk for itself. Let the Bible speak for itself. If we're not called to be pastors, if we're not called to be behind a pulpit, why do they feel the need in particular to convince people that they have all the answers and they know everything? That is what I don't understand, because I can go to church, I can watch a church service, right? And I don't feel the need to convince anybody of anything. I'm the kind of person who encourages people to think for themselves, okay? But what I'm not for is a name calling. What I'm not for is people making blanket statements about people, a culture, a skin color, a sexuality, yada, 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 and then saying, no, this is, but you don't have that power though. You think you do because you're calling in somebody else's name, but it doesn't mean it's a fact. It's a fantasy. It's not reality. And that's where it gets dangerous. So, just like a scientist, right? Just like people who are into that, you know, because I think that Richard Dawkins was a scientist or something of that relativity. He has some kind of affiliation. So what I'm saying is, if you attended his, you know, thing, or you read a book of his, hopefully it's to be open-minded. It's to learn something new. It's to take into consideration, but it's not there to be like, this is a truth and that's it. Because to me, that's very arrogant from anybody and from any side. It's a very arrogant thing to come out and say, this is just the truth and that's it. And if you don't bow to this, you know, like you're this, and this. Like, you're everything but basically a child of God. To me, something's very wrong with that perspective, okay? But people do what they want to do. But I'm just saying that after that, I totally detached. I got very strange energy, and I can read energy, as you guys know very well. So for me, if something just on a quantum level, right? On a vibrational, if you will, if you want to put it in a scientific context, on a molecular level, right? If I'm listening to something, okay, or I'm being told something and it feels weird and it feels off and I get a bad vibe, I'm just going to simply turn it off. I'm simply going to turn away, and that's my right. I'm an adult. I'm not a child. And if I was a child, even children should have the right to not be forced into religion. Okay? Like, children should not be forced into anything they don't want to do. Okay? So even with that, I think there's like not enough autonomy, right? Like, people say, oh, because they're a child, the person's a child, I'm gonna tell them, you don't really have that right. If you think about it, people don't really have that right, but they overstep their boundaries, right? They overstep what should be happening, right, in a household. So I was like, you know what? That does not feel in alignment with me. Okay, that doesn't sit right with me. Just on a like a bad vibe versus good vibe, right? I got very bad energy from it. And after, I just really felt like, you know what? I could hear someone explain, what they think was a creation of the universe. I can hear people explain all types of shit. And quite frankly, like quite frankly, we may never have all the answers, nor I think we're ever going to. And it overcomplicates life. For me, it just makes everything very wonky, very weird, very confusing. And in their own words, God is not the author of confusion. So if something feels very confusing to me, I'm not going to gravitate towards it. And I think that if that was supposed to unite people, if that was supposed to bring people closer to God, it didn't do that. It didn't do that. That was just straight out of a horror film. And I don't know why any sensible person would think that that was an altar call. That wasn't an altar call to shit, okay? And that's not exhibiting the love of Christ. That's just plain weird. And people that are baited into that and are coerced into that, I feel bad for them, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people have never read a Bible. They've never read any kind of holy book. And they're being like coerced. And I don't think that's how God wants us. If there is a God, that's not how I think God would want us to interact with the creator, the divine. I think that God and the creator want us to interact in a loving, peaceful manner. It's not like a forced thing. It's not like you must do this. You must, like, I don't get that. I don't get that. That's not what I think it is. And a lot of people have, allegedly, passed away. They came back, they call the NDE an NDE experience. And a lot of people say, like, that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nobody standing anywhere and just like chastising you. Like, that's not what it is. But on this planet with certain people in power, that's what it is to them. That's their version. That's not my version. That's their version. And so I wouldn't want to live in fear. I wouldn't want to live in a way that's uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to live in a way where I'm always looking over my shoulder. Like, none of that is appealing. None of that is appealing. And it's especially not appealing when you have a representative on stage name calling people, bad mouthing people, a whole millions and millions upon millions of Americans, right? You're bad mouthing. And then you're coming in the name of Jesus, that's blasphemous. Okay, that's like actually insane. And so yeah, like many of you, like, I don't want nothing to do with this. This is just like not it, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't sound right, and it's very disturbing. It's genuinely disturbing. And so I'm just like, you stay over there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you do you, but like I would say for sanity, I would say for peace of mind, there is no reason. Like moving forward, like there's really no reason to even try. And that's what I was saying on TikTok, is like there's really no reason anymore. Sadly, at least in America, there's like really no reason anymore to try to understand how they think, to try to understand why the world's so messed up. You know, everything is really weird. I can, everything is weird. Like people that are, and it's sad because, once again, the Bible says like nobody knows the day or the hour. And then you have these, once again, these people who are trying to take fake power. They're fake, they're not authentic, and they're trying to take their title because someone's a so-called pastor and say that God came to me. Of all you heathens, right? Of all you peasants, God came to me in the flesh. Jesus came to me in the flesh and told me that there's going to be a rapture on the 23rd to the 24th of September. Who in their right mind would believe that? Who's actually going to believe that? I don't even believe that. Okay. Now, if somebody does, okay, great. But like, what makes you so special? Why would he come to you? Why would he break what his disciples wrote in a book for you? Because the Bible says that nobody knows the day or the hour. So why would a pastor, a real pastor, think that he can override and overskip what a holy book says? Once again, it's like a form of being a narcissist. It's like you're trying to make something happen that, like, you're almost trying to force the rapture to happen. Okay, if the rapture is going to happen, none of these so-called Christians or pastors can force that to happen. Okay, that's not in your jurisdiction. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen, but you don't have a monopoly on telling anybody that it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to, like, this is crazy. And that's where religion and all of that becomes very unappealing, because people take it too far. Okay, and they really say a bunch of garbage, and they come out to the public and state it as fact. And once again, the Bible says nobody knows the day or hour. So how can any pastor come out and say that I know when it's going to happen, 2 p.m., the 23rd of September? How can I take that seriously? Like, how can an adult that pays bills take that seriously? And then what makes it even weirder and even sadder is, and this all happened yesterday, is then you see people who clearly don't subscribe to that religion. They don't really, maybe they don't even care for the Bible, which is fine, because everyone has a right to their own opinion, their own way of living. And they come out and say, okay, if you're gonna get raptured, give me your house, give me your car, give me your money. Like, I've seen people make videos and say and say things like, okay, if you're really going to get raptured, give me your car, give me your house, give me your money. And so it's equally disturbing. It's like, okay, if people believe in this, let them believe that. But then, like, you're making off-color jokes and saying, you need to give me your car, give me the password to your house, give me this, give me that. Because, so what I'm saying is, like, there's no winning here, guys. Okay, like, what I'm trying to show you guys, like, there's no rationality. There's no way to make this harmonious. Whenever it comes to like religion, like, it's not peaceful. It's not creating a peaceful way of human beings to coexist. It's creating this tension. And it's creating a tension that me personally, and I'm sure a lot of you out here watching, are very sick of. Like, you're sick and tired of it. And yeah, some people are making jokes. Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's a very obscure topic, not gonna lie. And then even what's even crazier is then there's going to be people who think they're Christians and they know they're Christians, and in the same breath they also say the rapture is not real. So to make it even stranger, there is a whole subsection of people, probably millions of people, who do believe in a rapture. Maybe don't believe in the pastor who claim that it's going to be this week, but there's a whole subsection of people who believe that they are a Christian, and at the same exact time, they're also saying in the Bible, the rapture is not even in the Bible. I have heard and seen many people who claim that they're Christian to say that there is no rapture. That's not in the Bible. It's not a biblical event. Like, there is Christians who don't even believe in a rapture. So what I'm saying is, when does this all stop? Like, when does it get to a point where like human beings have had enough of the confusion? Because it's all confusing. It's very confusing, and this is all happening at once. And I'm like over here, like, it feels abnormal. It's really see in one breath somebody go all out, sell their car, quit their job, say Jesus is going to pick me up on Tuesday, and then the same exact breath you see another person right on the next page say, I don't believe there's rapture. I've been going to church all my life. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe he's the Son of God, but it's not in the Bible. The word rapture is not even in the Bible at the same exact time. And as Cat Williams said, and as I've said, not everyone can be right and not everyone can be wrong, right? Somebody, at some point, at least one person has to be wrong. There has to be something that just does not pass the sniff test. You see what I'm saying? And that's all because of believing in that. It's all because of the mind, right? The mind hive. And so it's very chaotic, right? Even just if you can hear what I'm like, even hearing that, realizing that, it feels chaotic. And to me, I'm at the point where I'm saying, as humans, right? As all of us in this body and in this vessel, in this one lifetime, how is this helping us? How is it, can you imagine people out here who are actually scared for their life? Can you imagine people out here not even being able to sleep at night because they think they're going to get left behind? I mean, or they're trying to figure out, like, allegedly, there was some people saying how people were making TikToks of showing how to get your house ready for a rapture, which means, like, if you were raptured, you're going to be leaving like Morse codes, and like, this is weird. And even, I'm not saying that that's just the fact. I'm just saying, like, from a lot of people's perspective, like, all of this is weird. And then people in a serious way and not in a serious way will come out and say, well, if the rapture is going to happen, can I not go to work on Monday? Why do I have to go to work if the rapture is going to happen? You see how like insane this sounds? Like, there's people making comments saying, well, if the rapture is really going to happen, why are we going to work? Let's just, like, not go to work, because like, there's so many. What's that quote that says, what a tangle web we weave with lies? When you lie about something so deeply, the web gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what's happening. People are confused. People are disillusioned. People are obsessive. Like I said, I was raised in the church. Do you see me prep my house for no rapture? Fuck no. Why would I do that? Why would I be leaving passwords for anything in my house? Why would I even be thinking like that? But then you have millions of people who probably are thinking like that. I remember back when I was in high school, it was actually a biology class, to be more specific. And the teacher was telling us about 2012. Remember that with the Mayan calendar? Remember that, guys, with 2012? She was talking about her parents called her. They were on vacation and her parents called her to tell her to pack a bag because back then in 2012, they also believed that he was coming back. Once again, some pastor from out of the wazoo came out and said, you know, he's coming back. And if you don't get this, and if you don't do this, and if you don't do that, and it's like, what the heck are we talking about? And of course, it never happened. It didn't happen. But she was sharing a story about how her parents were panicking for her and how, she knew people who had a suitcase packed because when they would get lifted off in the air, they believed they would have a suitcase. And so we, I mean, is it safe to say that humans have lost the plot? And maybe humanity, maybe people are just clasping at straws because they're bored. I mean, is that what it comes down to, guys? That all these things, that majority of like 90, maybe 90 to 80% of what humans do is just they just do it because they're bored? I mean, could that be a possibility, guys, that people are just doing things because they're bored and there's no rhyme or reason, there's no logic in it, there's no rationality, it's just whatever goes, whatever makes you feel excited is what you're gonna go with. Because I'm not packing no suitcase, okay? I ain't packing no suitcase. But at the same exact time, my stance on it has been, if you really believe that God told you that and you sold your car and you quit your job and you're packing your bags and you're all this stuff, okay, all the best to you, right? Good luck, right? Because I'm not going to sit there and question what God told you or didn't tell you. But on the outside looking in, I'm saying humanity, people, the way we're living is odd. Everything is odd. People can give 1,000 explanations, the Big Bang Theory, the creation theory. The list goes on and up. Everybody has a different opinion about something that is beyond our capacity in our brains to comprehend, right? And it never ends. And it gets to a point where you're like, it's like a spiral, you know what I'm saying? And literally people are spiraling. Their people are literally spiraling. I just think on an emotion, because your emotion is what kind of fuels your reality, right? So if you're peaceful, right? If your energy is calm and peaceful, how is your life going to look? How is your thoughts going to look? That's my perspective. Nothing to do with any label, any title. It's just, if you're calm and you're peaceful, how is it in a way, it kind of co-collaborates with your behavior, with your, how you walk, how you talk, what you do every day. Like it kind of merges, if you will. And so if this is the climate, especially in America, and sadly all over the world, then it's not a shock as to why the world is the way it is and why people are the way that they are, when it's just nothing but confusion, you know. In the same breath, you can have somebody who claims they're a pastor say there is no rapture, and the exact opposite will say there is one. And in fact, I know the day and you don't, and yada 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 yada. So it never ends. And that's the part that I think is creepy about all this, is like, it never ends. There's always going to be another opinion. There's always going to be something out there, some kind of piece of information that's going to put you this way or put you this way. And all it's doing is creating chaos. That's all it's doing. It's not making anybody sleep at night. It's not making anybody get richer. It's not making anybody healthier. All these things are doing around religion is making people lose their minds. And until people can like really understand that, we're going to keep seeing people have these episodes. We're going to keep seeing people have these weird debates. We're going to keep seeing people have all these outlandish decision making. I mean, even if the rapture was to happen, why are you selling your car? don't you have to get to work that day or the day before? Or didn't you have to buy groceries to eat? You can't starve. But then this is what they're doing. They're putting all this messaging out here, all this programming out here, where some people who don't know any better are literally losing the plot, and it's rubbing off on other people, right? Just like these rallies are, just like everything, like it's trying to make people turn into what they're not. And it's like a hive mind. It really is. And it's incredibly sad because there's no limit. There's no limit. Once they have this little nugget of information, then they go here, and they go here, and they go here, and then they get so to a certain point emotionally, then they go to tell somebody else. And if that person rejects it, if that person says, calm down, if that person says, I'm not out. And I'm saying that's a sign that something is wrong, okay? That's a clear-cut sign that something is seriously wrong. Because if you're calm and you're peaceful, nothing you should hear, nothing you should see should make you behave like that. Nothing should get you out of your character, out of your noble character, if you will. Nothing should kind of make you act out like that. And the sad thing is, the really sad thing is that they're using God's name to do it, right? All the wars, all the carnage, all the mind control. What human beings have done is take God's name and pervert it and twist it and use it for their agenda, use it for their perspective, and it's never ending. And so I think that's why atheists are the way they are. I think that's why agnostics are the way that they are, is because they don't want to be a part of that. They just want to be like, you know what? I'm not going to claim anything in particular, and I'm not going to state anything as an absolute. And that's wisdom, in my opinion, because no one should be humans, like in comparison to the galaxies and everything else. Like we're like dust. We're literally stardust, and it's just a very, very weird, very, very weird territory. Very, very weird territory. So Jimmy Kimmel, on top of that, there's been reports that he's not bowing the knee, and that, there's been conflicting reports as well that maybe he is going to make an apology, a different statement. Others have said he's not going to make a statement, but Disney has lost a lot of money, and people are wanting to, get rid of their ABC, Disney, Hulu, products and services. People are wanting to, and are canceling, because they feel like his freedom of speech and our freedom of speech, quite frankly, is being tampered with. And it is, and it is, and it is, and it is. So, even people who are, like I said, are Christian, there's some Christians who don't believe in a rapture, and there's those who go all the way. They believe what the pastor said. They believe it's happening. They believe all of it. They believe all of it. And what I'm saying is, people in general, life in general is very weird. And like, after that event, for me, I was just like, you know what? I don't want weird vibes. I don't want negativity. I don't want hysteria. I don't want to be associated with any of those more so negative emotions, because those negative emotions produce negative results, right? That's just like the law of cause and effect. And so for me personally, that was like my last straw, like that was really like my last straw. Like, you know what? I'm just tired of the propaganda. I'm tired of the massaging of beliefs. I'm just tired of all of it. Like, I want to, and many of you I'm sure can relate, I just want to enjoy my life, be a happy person, continue to be a healthy person. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want. I think trying to understand, that's the thing, trying to understand why people say and do what they do is becoming a waste of time. You know, like if you watched that memorial service and you're not like them and you were disturbed by that, you know, you're if you gave a damn, you're going to sit there and try to figure out, well, why are they wearing that hat, and why is the speaker here, and why are they name calling this, and why, like you're going to waste your energy trying to make sense of something that in your reality, in your realm, in your experience, life experience, isn't for you, you know? And that's really how I felt. Like after all of that, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to try to understand, because all it's doing, doing is creating confusion, and it's disturbing me. It's creepy to me, you know? And I'm not gonna try to fit in where I don't. I don't think anybody should. I don't think that anybody should be trying to force themselves to do anything, right? I mean, if you want to talk about the law of attraction, law of the universe, law of cause and effect, you know, if you want to go into like just basic earthly principles, like there's always something that caused a ripple. There's a cause and effect. So for me, it was like, I'm not even going to try to understand. I'm not even going to try to understand. I'm not even going to try to trace it out in childhood, what you're raised with. I don't care. You do you, I'll do me. And I'm good over here. And I also, oh yeah, I wanted to also bring up this because when his show got canceled, or pulled, I should say, former President Obama, he made a statement about a couple things, and he was saying how he adamantly disagreed with that his wife, you know, as the guy said, a Black woman doesn't have the same, you know, brain capacity or brain capability, X, Y, and Z. There was a really, really, you know, offensive statement that the person made towards his wife and towards Black women. And I really thought it was very, 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 very good that Obama spoke out for his wife and spoke on behalf of Black women, himself being a Black man at that, and said that, you know, I don't believe that. You know, a lot of things that this person said, I don't agree with. I don't feel the same way. And that's his right. That's our right. That's anybody's right. Anybody has the right to disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? And it is offensive. It was meant to be offensive. And that's why I was saying, like, it's a form of energy harvesting. It's a form of manipulation. And I think somebody would be silly to hear an insult like that, take it seriously, and then support the person. No one's gonna support somebody who tries to belittle their intellectual capacity, right? I mean, it's a lot of gaslighting as well. You know, it's a lot of gaslighting. It's a lot of gaslighting. You cannot expect people to like a person that had nothing but negative things to say, right? The two things just don't even make any sense. Like, and it's incredibly strange that you're trying to make somebody like somebody who literally tried to disgrace you as a human being. Like, you want someone to worship somebody and feel bad for somebody that literally was extremely rude and had no credibility to what they were saying. African American women are the most educated in the country, in the nation. They have the most degrees. I mean, as well as Hispanic women, they open a lot of small businesses. You know, the record will show, but they're self-made millionaires and billionaires. They work hard. They have their head up held high. Why is anybody, including myself, why is anybody being coerced to give any kind of energy to somebody who didn't even respect them as a human being, is beyond me. And so the parallel between that and the former President Obama talking about and defending his wife, defending Black women, defending our democracy, and saying, like, this is asinine, this is crazy, was a huge difference for me personally. And it really showed me that I'm right where I need to be. I'm on the right side of history. I like, for me personally, like what's right with my soul and how I feel. Anyone can't be on its opposite opinion because they can. But what I'm saying is, like, within my body, within my soul, what Obama was saying was more so to the fact of the matter than what they were pushing. Because I would never say that anybody lacks anything. You don't have that power. That goes back to the whole, you know, Christian nationalist thing. It's like, you think that you can call people out of their name, and you don't have that right. You don't have the right to tell anybody that they're not, that they can't do something, that they can't be what they want to be. Like, you don't have that right. And that there's a big difference in how you see people. Like, if you think that you're powerful enough to call a whole human being irrelevant and everything else, like, that is, to me, showing more about your character than their character. And so I listened to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally listened very carefully to what Obama was saying, because I wanted to hear his response to that disgusting remark. I wanted to hear what he had to say. And everything that he was saying, it felt right in my spirit. It felt right to me. And I can't speak for those who don't agree, but, like, no real husband is gonna let someone disrespect their wife. Like, he disrespected his own wife, and then you want someone to turn around and kiss your ass. Like, it's not gonna happen, guys. Like, this is crazy. And so that's what I did with my time. Like, very briefly after, I took a woosah. Like, I just did some deep breathing, heard what Obama said, and I was like, yep, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with where I am. Like, I'm good with that, because to me, I'm in alignment with that. I'm not in alignment with that, with the name calling. I'm not in alignment with that. I'm in alignment with people wanting to uplift others, encourage others, be the best version of yourself, or not, right? If you want to just kick back and relax, live life how you want to live your life. I am more of that. Like, that is more of, like, what feels right to me. And I felt really good about that. And then after, I just meditated and I went to sleep. You know what I'm saying? But I really, like, when I got back up to get some water, I was going to make a TikTok, because I saw a lot of people on TikTok that were as troubled and confused and bewildered by what they heard and saw. And in their opinion, it was a lot of propaganda. In their opinion, it was incredibly offensive. In their opinion, it was like a rally. It was like it's like they hijacked the whole service and they turned it into another rally. And that was disturbing. It was expected, but it was still disturbing to see. And no, it's not just Black women. It was actually mainly Caucasian people. It was Caucasian Americans that were so bold to make, while we have all the censorship, they were so bold, so bold to make these videos, showing how they were very, very bewildered by it and very, very troubled by it. And I did see a couple Americans, make reaction videos to it and say that they want to go to Canada, that they want to exercise their ability to be an adult, right? With their money, with their time and energy, and to leave. And I support it. Okay. If there's any, anybody out here, okay, who is hurt by what he said, is offended, is disgusted by what's been happening, and you want to leave America, I fully support you. I support you. If nobody else in your family supports you, I support you, because no one deserves that. No one deserves to be living anywhere that takes them for granted, that thinks that this kind of rhetoric is okay. And leave them to it. Leave them to it. Like, protect your energy, protect your peace of mind. It's not worth it. These so-called debates, is baiting. Debates are baiting. It's to energy harvest. And as I said in another video, like, you don't need to debate anybody if you really are convicted. Like, if you really believe what you want to believe, do you. Like, do you. And this whole like excuse about going to places to debate, for what purpose? The question should be, for what purpose? Is it to convert somebody? Is it to, like, what is the purpose? And if the purpose has and if the purpose of doing that has anything tied to trying to change someone's mind, it's not coming from a good place. Because see, I can think and do what I do and live my life, and I don't feel the need to come through the camera, right, and come into any of you guys' houses or lives and tell you how to live, think, and breathe, and walk, and talk, and eat. I don't feel that. I don't understand that. And that's why I'm saying I don't get it. I don't feel the need to go to anybody and say, you believe this, but let me give you a better. Like, no, people are adults. Like, we're adults. We're not little lambs. We're not little children. And even, like I said, even children have the right to reject whatever they want to reject. Children should not have to be doing anything in particular about compass either. You know, like, some children get roped into things that they really have no business being roped into in the name of religion, you know, on top of that. But that's another topic. But what I'm saying is, we're adults. We're adults. And nobody has the right to tell anybody how to talk. And the First Amendment thing came up. Yeah, like, nobody has the right to censor anybody. Nobody has that right, even if it's so-called hateful. Okay, you said it, I heard it, that's it. Like, I don't need to agree with you or disagree with you. You say whatever you want to say, but then I can say whatever I want to say, right? That's how it should be working here. And that's why I'm saying to you guys, humanity is fucking cooked, okay? Like, this country is fucking cooked because you want to talk all this, but then they can't talk all that. Why? I'm saying, say what you want to say, but don't try to come over here and tell me that I should not feel offended because I'm not offended by you, but I think it's disgusting what you said. I'm not offended because I can't relate to it, but I think it's rude. And if you're being rude, then I'm going to simply, if it's directed at me, of course, I'm going to simply respond and say, you're out of line. Be quiet, right? Get out of my face. That's not anything. Nothing's wrong with that. If someone is trying to be rude to you, you have the right to say, be quiet, get away from me, back away, back up. Like, you're an adult. Like, besides even the freedom of speech thing, you're an adult. So none of these people on stage have any right to tell anybody how to think, how to feel, how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to love. You don't have that power. You don't have that right. And the reason why the country is going down the toilet is because you're trying to do that. You're trying to force women to have children. They're trying to force people to do things that are not natural to them. Maybe it's natural to you. In fact, when I watched it, she was saying that we had such a good marriage. He was the best husband. Okay, there's tons of husbands out here, honey. You're not the only person who had a husband, right? She's like, he just wanted people to have the joy of marriage like we did. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you think that everybody wants to be married? Do you think that everybody in America wants to have a child? The answer is no. The answer is no. So even with that statement or that paragraph that seems so innocent, is showing you how they think. It's showing you the mind control, because you're trying to impose on me your way of living. You don't have that right. You don't have the right to tell me that first of all, like I said, the whole thing is weird. How does that translate into, I just want everybody to have what I have? First of all, that's humanly impossible. Even if you do have a good marriage, that has nothing to do with me. Nothing at all. I have nothing. I'm not in your bedroom. I'm not in your car. Like, I have nothing to do with that. So you have to pay attention to how people talk. and what they're trying to really convey. What they're really trying to convey is my life is better because I say it is. And if you're not married, and if you're not Christian, if you don't have a kid, your life sucks. That's basically what she's trying to say, is that because we're so happy, we just want you to be happy too. Who said they're not happy already? Who said that they're not happy already? You're trying to assume that they're not happy. You're trying to assume that they're not content. They are content. They are happy. And those who are not, if it's God's will and life just magically happens, which is, once again, life is weird. If they meet somebody that's even worthy of it, and they're compatible, okay, then so be it. But why are we turning this into like a cult? Why are we turning a personal, private, which is supposed to be a personal, private way of living, into a mass PSA of you must have this, you must do this? And I don't understand that way of thinking. I don't get it. And then what makes it even worse is you're trying to say that this is in the name of God, but you're not God though. So where are you getting this from? It's like you're assuming that every man and every woman in America wants to look like you and act like you. No, how can you think like that? Why would you even think that? You think that everybody wants to just have a fucking 5 children in a prairie? Like, what are you on? Like, even with that statement, that shows you a window into what they're really trying to say. And it's programming. It's programming because you're trying to assume things that you have no business assuming. You think that on top of that, you think that every married couple wants to have kids? That's also false. There's tons of married couples who don't want to have children. And here you have this bitch on stage talking about, I want everyone to experience the joy of R2. Like, what are you talking about? You sound crazy. You sound insane. And that's why I think so many people were disturbed, is because it's like you're making a lot of false connections and a lot of false assumptions that just simply don't exist. And quite frankly, that's none of your fucking business, right? It's none of your business. I mean, like Joyce Meyer, I found out recently that she was divorced before she met this guy. And they want to like have this like pristine image. She was divorced. And then here we go with a weird energy. Then you hear some Christian come out and say, oh, well, the Bible says you can only be married once. Because there's some Christians, for those who don't know, that believe that you cannot get remarried, by the way. This is how deep in the trenches it goes. There is Christians out here who believe that even pastors, even people who are pastors, they don't have any right to be married again, because to them, they believe that you can only marry once. And that so-called kingdom spouse is your only spouse for all eternity. It's really weird. Like, that's my opinion. I'm just saying, it's really odd. It's really fucking odd. And they're showing you how they think. If you just listen and pay attention, they're showing you how they think and what they're trying to do to you, to me, to us. And what I'm saying is, you don't have that power. If somebody wanted to be single for the rest of their life, that is their business. You don't have any right to try to brainwash someone, massage their brain and say to them, you must have 2 kids and they must be XYZ and you must do this and you must do that. And like, you have lost your mind. They've lost their mind. And what's sad is, like, people are supposed to be adults, functioning, healthy adults. And they're sitting in pews, they're watching TV, they're listening to people who are literally younger than them, tell them how to live their life. Why? Think for yourself. Why? And this is what I'm saying, like, why are these things so extreme? Like, if I got married, I don't feel the need to make someone feel bad or make someone be coerced into doing what I do just because I have that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you're trying to assume that because And we're not even friends. These are strangers on television. These are not even people we know in real life. So that's even weirder. Like, if it's from somebody who's a relative or a friend, you know, there's still boundaries. There still should be boundaries there. So that makes more sense, right? If the person and you have a personal relationship, these are people on a television that we don't even know. I don't even know you. And you're trying to you're trying to actually lie, but you're trying to project your fake ass marriage onto me and onto the general public. And you're trying to say that because I am claiming, which could be false, that we have this perfect, this thing is perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. So when someone uses the word perfect, you know that they're lying. Because perfection does not exist in this reality. Okay? Nothing is perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. So you trying to use the word perfect is a lie. It is a lie. And then on top of you lying, you're going to say, he was a perfect this, perfect. I doubt that. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. And even if that is the case, why are you trying to convince me of that? I'm not in your bedroom. I'm not in your house. I could give a fuck. I could care less. I could give a shit. Right? And that's the difference. Okay? Is that they don't care. You know, so-called progressives, they don't care to dictate what happens in your household. Right? Like, they don't care to cast their life onto somebody else. It's almost like when you have a friend who had a baby and because she likes being a mom, she says to you, you should have a child. Bitch, fuck you. No, I shouldn't. Okay? So, like, that's kind of how it feels like, oh, because I love my baby, I think that you should have a baby, right? You didn't give birth to it, you're not paying for it, you're not raising it, but I think because I have a baby that you should have a baby. That's crazy. And that's how they sound. That's how they're talking. It's like, because I have this fairy tale, then you should have this fairy tale too. Bitch, you're getting beaten in the house, you're getting financially abused, you look horrible, you sound horrible, you're a fake ass bitch. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And that's what it is. That's what it is. It's trying to, once again, with the religion, with all that shit, trying to have some kind of hierarchy of bullshit. And the sad thing is people are actually falling for that. Instead of having their own opinion, their own mind, their own opinion, they want to try to try to dilapidate the opinions of other people and stamp it as fact. Why don't you have your own life experience? Why don't you have your own opinion, right? Everything that I think, everything that I do is based off experience and my experience and my own opinion. There's nothing that I've ever believed in my heart or think in my mind that anyone could tell me. Someone could talk to me till they're blue in the face, and if I don't believe it, I'm not gonna believe it. There's nothing you could tell me. I'm just not gonna believe what you're saying because I don't agree. And that's okay. We don't all have to agree. We don't all have to think the same way. In fact, we're not supposed to. We're not robots. We're not supposed to be robots. We're not supposed to be all looking and talking and doing the same thing. Now, if you happen to have community and you have like-minded individuals, that's the beauty of that. Okay, that's great. But I'm talking about in terms of like your own mind. You're supposed to use your own mind. Not just whatever you see on the news, you just go, oh my God, you just go into a panic, you know? Don't be gullible, don't be naive. Don't be naive. Even if you are in any kind of religion, you're gonna read the Bible for yourself. You're gonna read the Quran for yourself. You're gonna read those texts for yourself. Don't just sit there and let somebody tell you what their version of their interpretation of what, like, read it for yourself. If you're into that, if you're even into that, because I'm not, but if you're into that, read it for yourself. Form your own opinion. Okay? That's the difference. You're empowering somebody to empower themselves instead of empowering a cult, instead of empowering people who want to get money off you, instead of empowering people who are basically trying to be like a leader of something, you know, like a cult leader. And it's a big difference. It's a big difference between somebody trying to lift you up to see your potential versus trying to lift you up to see their potential, making everything about them, which is what this person did on the stage today. Make everything about them. Make everything about them. So that's the difference. And adults are adults for a reason. And people have the right to be offended. If they are offended, people have the right to think how they want to think. And to keep it PG, you know what I'm saying? To keep it cordial, keep it PG, disagree and move on. But they don't have to stay in the presence of something that they don't agree with. They don't have to feel bad about something that, even if it's the most horrific thing in the world, right? Like slavery, or like a Holocaust, or like a genocide, you know? There are some people, because of what they believe, that don't have any sympathy. And under the guise of your own opinion, your own mind, that also gives you the right to think that. If you have a lack of emotion, you have a lack of care for people, that's on you, right? I don't have to like it or dislike it, but that's what having your own opinion is, right? Even if it's evil, even if it's the most horrible thing in the world, you still have the right to not have sympathy, right? Right. So when a bad thing happens to somebody else and they laugh, well, that's freedom of speech, right? That's freedom of opinion, right? And vice versa. So we're adults. We're not little sheep here. We're not little sheeple. We're people. We're adults. And I do think that something has gone terribly wrong in this country, and it's really sick that the whole world can see it, and some people can't see it in this country. The whole world can see what's going on, but then people who are living in it, clearly, you know what I'm saying? They don't see how bad it actually is. And that's scary within itself, because then there's no awareness. That's the word I'm looking for. There's no awareness. There's no awareness that, oh, you're in you know, this country's in trouble. Like that's when it gets dangerous. You know, that's when it gets dangerous, when something awful is happening and everybody's just looking away. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's just like up in the clouds. You know, that's when the trouble really starts. So there's so much more I could say, but I was very happy that Obama defended his wife, and being the classy man he is, you know, he can also speak on one topic and then also express his displeasure for another topic at the same time, and still keep it classy, still keep it cordial, and still be a rational human being. And that's something that America has really lost, is just class and decency. And like I said, the whole world can see it. The whole world can see that this country has lost its way, in a big way. You know, in fact, the UK, I think Canada, and what was it, France or Colombia? There was a couple countries that declared, was it Palestine the state, or what was it? I have to look that up, guys. It was something that was declared today about the whole Gaza thing. I think it was on Sky. Let me see, on Sky News. What was the countries that did that? There's a couple things here. UK, no. But yeah, you know, if somebody wanted to be single, or doesn't want to live how you live, that's completely okay. They don't have to go to your church. They don't have to get married. They don't have to have children. They don't have to be a size 4 or a size 2. Who died and made you boss? Nobody. Nobody made these people anything. but they're in their own state of mind. I'm gonna go and see what was the statement. I just want to read that statement real quick because I know it was UK and somebody else declared that today. Let me see. Wonder why it's so hard to find this story. That's weird. That's really weird because this happened today. Okay, here we go. There we go. Finally. For God's sake, I'm like, this happened yesterday. This is a very important update. Okay, so it was Canada, Australia, and the UK recognized the Palestinian statehood. That was yesterday, for those who didn't know that, okay? Canada, Australia, and the UK recognized Palestinian statehood. An apparently coordinated move that piles pressure on blank, 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 puts 3 countries at odds with America. That's what the article says, okay? They're saying here, France plans to recognize the Palestinian state next week at the UN General Embassy as international alarms builds over the ongoing war and starvation crisis in Gaza. So there was 3 major empires, if you will, today that recognized the Palestinian statehood. France is next, for those just who didn't know. And that was more important, in my opinion, right? That was a bigger, there's a whole starvation crisis going on, right? That's important. That's, children that are starving. That's important, right? Like, like that's what should be, if anything, should be covered. Not what they're talking about. Not the fucking bullshit fairy tales they're pushing out here. And honestly, just the lies, like just the lies alone is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. So, that's my opinion. People are free to disagree. I'm sure not everybody that watches me is going to agree. I'm not expecting that. I'm not here for that. I'm here to give commentary on things that bother me, that bother other people, that bother the world, right? That people collectively can feel the tension, they're disturbed, some are even scared, they're suspicious of what's going on in this country, in America specifically. And it's very sad. It's just genuinely sad. And I don't really recall a time in America where they're trying to force you to believe in something. I don't recall that. I don't know if that's just always been the norm, but like I can't really think of another time in this country where it's like extremists, right? It's like a very extreme approach where it's like, you need to be in my clique and walk like me and live like me and do what I do and pop babies out and go to church. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I don't get it. And if you're so happy, then why don't you just do what you want to do? I don't really see people who are, in fact, at all. I don't see people who are child free and happy and rich, telling people that you must be child free and rich to be happy, to be of value. I don't hear that. I'm only hearing that from one side. I'm not hearing people who are genuinely like living their lives and enjoying their lives telling people like, you need to be like me in order to be to be of value. Like, I don't hear that. I just hear people saying that, trying to convince people that, okay, because I have this and this and this and this and this, then you should have this, 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 and this, or what exactly? The data would say otherwise. And even if that is the case and you're an anomaly, there's no reason to impose that on other people. There's no reason to impose what you believe on other people. People have the right to live differently, to think differently. They don't have to think like you. They don't have to believe like you. But when you live in a world like this where everything, like the tension is so high, right? Like the stakes are so high, the tension is so high. What I think at the end of the day is how is this gonna enrich the planet? How is this gonna enrich people? It's not, like how did America especially come to a point where the burning of fast fashion products and toxic chemicals being puffed in the air. Like, how do we get to a point where something is staring you in the face, and then just because the title of that is climate change, we're we've made things that are a part of everyday life into a you versus me. And that's the problem that I see, is like there's not too many things that are working in common, at least in America, and there's not too many things that are uniting people. Because if I was a president, I wouldn't be saying stuff like that. What he said, I would have not said. Um, I think it was distasteful. And I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked that this is where America's at when people need love more than ever, self-love, community love, self-empowerment, healthy mindset. Like people need to be uplifted, not tear down. And to use that moment to try to tear people down, okay, is crazy. And I'm really trying very hard to recount a time when it was this bleak and this divisive and this toxic, and I can't find it except the first term. But besides that, I can't find it. I can't find any other president that I can recall living in that has created such a wave of chaos. And I just think that it just speaks volumes. It really does speak volumes as to the direction the country is going in. It speaks volumes to what's going to be of this country in the next 5, 10 years. And I think people who want to leave, they have every right to leave. They have every right to leave. And they shouldn't be guilt tripped into, I heard phrases like, stay and fight, fight with us. No, like people don't have to, right? They don't have to. If people don't want to fight to be here, and they don't want to fight, and they don't want to be exhausted, why should they? Why should I? Why should you? I think if people want to you know, be around like-minded individuals and be in a happier space, a healthier, but most importantly, a healthier space, that is of the utmost importance. How you feel on a day-to-day basis, who you surround yourself with, is very, 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 very important. And if the country is going in a direction that a mass majority or a lot of people don't agree with, then of course they're going to leave. Of course they're going to feel detached. Of course they're going to disassociate. Of course they're going to feel offended. Of course they are. It's a very natural course of action for someone to separate when they feel uncomfortable, and for someone to say that they shouldn't feel uncomfortable is crazy. You cannot over, you just can't do that. And until that common ground is solidified, hopefully it doesn't increase in this direction, but I don't have any hope for it. I don't have any hope for it. I have no hope for it at all. And I wish everybody the best, I wish people the best. But I don't think that people should be guilt tripped into anything. Um, Same thing with having kids. You know what I'm saying? Like some people are they're able to sacrifice being a mom. They want to be a mom, right? It's kind of an awful idea that you want people to be moms who don't want to be moms, or dads that don't want to be dads. You know, not everybody wants to do that or even has the what's what I'm looking for, has the natural instinct or mechanism to want to do that for the long haul. You know, maybe for a year, maybe for 2 years, but there is people that don't want to be a parent. They don't want to do what you do or whatever else. Like they don't want to. And my thing is, why should they be guilt tripped and feel and chokehold into being what they're not? And the same thing is the same thing for sexuality, right? Same thing for sexuality. If a man has a preference to be with a man over a woman, why should anybody be trying to correct him into being with a woman if that's not his preference? I don't understand. That has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with me. You know, I just don't get it. Like, how is that affecting you? It's not, you know. And then this bullshit excuse. This bullshit excuse that, oh, the kids will see. So the fuck what? Don't the kids fucking see other straight couples kiss? Don't they fucking see other heterosexual couples make out at fucking Disneyland? Don't they see other couples tongue kiss and shit in the hallway? But yet a person with another of the same, that's what offends you? I mean, like, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. So you're not offended when your kid is watching a sex scene, but you're offended when a man is kissing on the cheek another man? Like, that's hypocrisy. That's crazy. To me, it's crazy, okay? Maybe people don't agree, but like, to me, and people are not, everyone's not gonna agree, right? Because we're not all the same. But what I'm saying is, like, that's crazy. And if you don't want to watch the movie or watch it, then don't. No one's telling you to. But like, trying to act like it doesn't exist is stupid. It's silly. Every man is going to be with a woman. That's never happened. Look back in all your history books. Look back at all the people that came before George Washington. Look at all these, look at actual facts. Look at nature. Look at nature. Okay? Like, not every man is going to be with a woman. And what's wrong with that? Nothing. They don't have to be with a woman. They don't have to be with a woman. You know, Snoop Dogg, I'm going to bring him up because that was crazy. He was talking about going to the movie theater, a movie that he picked out. He picked out this animation movie. And he also was performing for him at his little, was it the inauguration or like that? He was there, which he flip-flopped too. He's already out of the peripheral because I don't know what the hell he's on. And he was making a big deal. And in my head, I'm like, first of all, you chose that film. You chose that film. You took your butt there. You're an adult. No one took you to watch that film. You went and watched the film. And you created a problem where there is none. There was no inappropriate scenes. There was no inappropriate dialogue. You saw two human beings in a relationship and you're freaking out. Don't you see tons of couples that are heterosexual that are creepy looking, that are ugly, that are from his perspective, that are not as attractive? Don't you see them making out? Don't you see them doing things all the time on TV, in person and whatnot? And you're not flailing your arms though. But here you have two attractive people who happen to be gay, and you're freaking out. You are immature. If that bothers you so much, are you really a mature adult? Can you tolerate other people, or do you not have the capacity? Because nothing about that should have you going crazy. Nothing, especially if you are straight and you are a man married to a woman in your house with your grandkids. You should be the example. If you want to be an example so bad, what example are you setting? that's making you think that because they see something else, they're going to switch in from his words. Are you not a good husband? Are you not a good man? Is that why you're panicking? Because you're not a good example? Or is there something else that I'm missing? Like what is it exactly? Because to me, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And this is what I'm talking about. It's like we're not even on the same planet. The things that they're freaking out about make no sense. If you're straight, you're heterosexual, you're in your own house with your wife or whatever, why what I don't understand. Like you're in your house showing your kids that you're a straight couple, like you're heterosexual. Okay? That's who they see every day. Are you not setting a good example? Because if you're setting a good example, then what exactly what are we missing here? What is not being said here? What is not being said here? What is not being said here? Because every day your child gets up, they're seeing you with your wife or your husband. So if you're doing a poor job, and you know, so it's baffling. And even on something as simple as that, we're the complete opposite. It's mass hysteria. Oh my God, there's a gay there's a what are you like? Do you think that everybody is the same person? Because we're not. We're different people, right? Everybody's different or supposed to be different. We're not all supposed to do the same thing. So Snoop Dogg really was silly with that, okay? Because no one like no one forced you, right? No one told you anything in particular. You took your butt there and you didn't like what you saw and you made a big deal about it. Okay, if you didn't like it, guess what you could have left. You could have got up out the seat, went to customer service and got a refund. If you don't have the kahunas to get up out your seat and go to customer service and ask for a refund, then you shouldn't be talking. You shouldn't be complaining because clearly you liked it enough to stay for the whole film. Clearly the film was good enough to sit there and watch until the credits ran. Hypocrisy. 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 How many so-called straight films do you see of they have sex scenes? They have full out sex scenes in the theater. That's not offensive. That's not offensive to see two people doing an intimate act naked on screen. I didn't ask for that. I didn't pay for that. But we're not causing a big deal about it though. But you can literally see a gay couple standing next to each other. Just standing. They're not doing anything, they're just standing, just existing. And you're like, oh my God, it is ridiculous. That is actually pathetic. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Okay? And so that's why I'm saying to y'all, whatever God, whatever creator, whatever the fuck invented human beings, what was on their mind? What was the whole strategy to this shit? Because clearly other human beings cannot coexist with other human beings. It's obvious. It's obvious. If they don't do what they want them to do, they're in an uproar. They're freaking out. They're just going crazy. They're panicking. Oh my God. Oh my God. They don't know how to be adults, like mature adults. And everything is like a panic. Everything's a panic. You know what I did? After I saw that event, I was calm as a cucumber. There was some people who were like freaking out. I literally was just like, you know what? I literally just chilled out. You know, I don't smoke, I don't drink, okay? And if I was to occasionally smoke or drink, who cares? No one's business, right? but on average, I don't. Okay, I don't like the taste of alcohol. I don't drink alcohol on average. I don't really enjoy it, right? And so instead of being immature, I was mature enough to be like, you know what? That is what they want to do, right? They all are like-minded people, so they were congregating together, right? I don't have no place there. You see what I'm saying? I'm not, if I was in that state, I'm not gonna take my car to go sit in a crowd of people that don't like me. That we don't see, we're not seeing eye to eye. We're not on the same page here. And it'd be silly for me to assume that I'm gonna go sit in a sea of people who don't think don't like me, don't respect me, don't understand my point of view, and then say, let's be friends. Let's go after and hit a barbecue. That's silly. It's not gonna happen. Okay, on average, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna go down that way. They're gonna start investigating you, penalizing you, debating, right? You. And say, well, what do you think about this? Who gives a shit, right? So people just need to kind of like chill out. Okay, like just chill out, because it's never going to change. It's not going to change. Moving forward, especially if you live in America, you're going to have to understand that people are going to, and it's not your job to convert anybody into your little religion. It's not your job to convert anybody into what you are, per se, left or right. That's not your job. It's nobody's job. And when people make it their job, that's when the problems start, because they want to try to hook them, reel them in. And what I'm saying is, if you're an adult, then act like it. Then act like it. You should be able to be civil and can see when you're name calling somebody how it offends somebody. If you can't see that, then you're trying not to see that. I saw somebody say a quote like, people are adults, they know what they're doing. Yeah, sometimes they do. Okay, not all the time. But a lot of times they know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing, even if it's offensive. They know what they're doing. Trust me. So that's how I felt. That's how I felt. I literally just kicked back and I was like, yeah, I'm happy I'm where I am. I'm happy that I'm with what I'm with. And I'm happy that I feel the way I feel and that I'm not a part of that, because it didn't make any sense to me. I don't gel with it. And that's my right. And that's how I feel. You see what I'm saying? And for anybody else out here in the world who also watched that and they were kind of confused by it and they were bewildered and they felt weird, then that's your body telling you, that's your whole being is telling you that something's not right here. Okay? And it's crazy because then another person will feel like that is right. You know, somebody else could have been in that exact crowd and they're like on top of the world. They feel like they're just, because that's what aligns with them. That's not what aligns with you. And that has to be okay moving forward. Okay? Moving forward, don't try to understand it. Don't try to understand why there's all this, if you want to say propaganda, okay? Like, you don't have to understand why people do what they do. Some people have had a toxic upbringing, okay? Some people are forced into different religions. Some people are forced to marry certain people against their will. You know, it happens every day, you know? Sadly, it does happen every day, okay? Some people have been conditioned for a very long time. They're victims themselves. They are victims themselves. And until they get certain kind of financial freedom, or they have the courage, or they've been loved correctly enough to have a voice again, to have an opinion again. Some people literally are trapped in that because they feel like if they rebel, they're going to get kicked off the will, or they're going to get divorced about it. I mean, I saw somebody, oh my God, I saw actually more than one person yesterday in the comment section, not my comment section, this was on TikTok. They were saying how they got divorced after many years because their husband, thought very differently from them. And I guess back then, maybe in a different generation, different time frame when they were dating, it was normalized. There wasn't certain kind of conversations that were brought up. So these women were marrying these men, not all of them. I'm just saying, for this example, like some women have married men that they really did not know because they were conditioned that way. It was a certain kind of time in the world or in their family or whatever, and vis-a-vis, where that was the norm back then. It was a norm to marry a guy and not know him. It was a norm to stay at home. These things were the norm for them, right? And then not until they grew the hell up and gained a backbone did they look the person that they married in the eye and say, you're not who I want to be with. You're not a good person, or I don't agree with you, or I don't want to be with you. That takes courage, guys. It takes courage. Not everyone has the courage to be in the same household and think differently. I do, but a lot of people don't have that. Respectfully, a lot of people don't have that. Whether in a marriage or in a family situation, they're living under roofs right now where they're living with people who think completely opposite of them. And whether it's out of protection or whatever, they try to believe like them because they're afraid. That's why I'm saying it's a fear tactic. Fear tactic equals manipulation. Manipulation equals gaslighting. Gaslighting equals mind control. You see what I'm saying? So they don't have the courage because no one taught them how to think for themselves. No one taught them that it's okay to have a different opinion. No one showed them that them being authentic is the highest vibration. They don't know that. They don't know that. For example, I was raised going to church. I was raised in the church, but as young as I could say, even 7 years old, I have a distinct memory where my mom was doing my hair, and we were in the living room. My mom was doing my hair. My dad was on the couch across. He was on the, like, not what do you call those? Not couch. What do you call those sofas where there's like almost like like a recliner, but it's a sofa, but it's like those sofas that they have like a part of the sofa for your legs, like there's a word for it, but I don't know what you call it. It's more like a sophisticated kind of couch. Anyway, I was like 7 years old. I was 7 or 8 or 9. I think I was 7 years old. And I said to my mom, I said out loud to my parents, I said, who created God? Now, maybe the average 7-year-old is not going to ask things like that. Is not going to have the balls to speak like that. But this is why I have a YouTube channel, because like I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not afraid to be myself. I'm not afraid to be authentic. Some people are. That's why some people are into public speaking, and others are terrified of it. There are some people that are literally terrified of public speaking. Clearly, I'm not. Because if I was, I wouldn't be on camera right now. You get what I'm trying to say? So this is a part of being authentic, is you operate in what's your authentic talent. I'm operating in my authentic talent. That's why I can do what I'm doing, right? I couldn't do this if I was being a fake person. I couldn't do this if this was not my natural comfort zone. I'm comfortable talking to you guys. I'm comfortable talking to thousands of people that I don't even know. Not everyone can do that. So you see what I'm saying? So that's just nature. That's just nature, right? So as I was 7 years old, I didn't watch anything in particular. I didn't even know, but you're too young to even talk about religion at that age. I was either 7, 8, or 9 years old. Okay, but I was under 13 years old for sure. And she was doing my hair, and I said to her, "Who created God?" And my dad kind of chuckled. He looked over at us, or me in particular, and he actually gave me credit. My dad said to me, "That's actually a very good question." And he kind of bounced the question to my mom, and my mom was like, I don't think I want to remember what she said, but that's the environment that I grew up in. You see where I'm going with this? So the environment in which you grow up in kind of sets a tone for how you see life as an adult, what you will and will not ask or question, and what you will or will not do. If you are raised in an environment where if you ask a question, you're reprimanded, you're talked down to, you're scared, that's going to produce another scared adult. That's going to produce an adult that cannot speak up for themselves. That's going to produce an adult that's going to probably be in very toxic relationships. But if you are raised or you allow yourself to be around people or in an environment where you're able to speak up for yourself, it's a very different reality. Follow me. Follow where I'm going with this. It's a very different reality. So how many people in that crowd were raised in a household where they were told not to question God, where they were told not to question the Bible? How many? 60%? 80%? You do the math. You do the math. So that produces toxic households. That produces toxic masculinity, toxic patriarchy. The list goes on and on and on. It produces an environment, a climate of people who don't know how to think for themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, it's very easy to see why people do what they do and why they think the way they think by how they're raised or what to them is a boundary to push, because to them it's like a line, right? It's a line they can't, like, some people will say, have you ever heard somebody say, I can't question God? Have you heard, and I'm sure people have heard that quote where people say here, I can't question God. Why not? Why not? You can't ask God a question? Is that your relationship with God? Is that you can't ask God why bad things happen to good people? Because I do. I do. All the time. All the time. I talk to God just like I'm talking to you guys. And I say, how come these bad people can do bad things and there's no consequence? And either I'll get a confirmation in a different way or vice versa. It's very personal, but I'm giving you guys an example of, like, some people are not taught to love themselves. They're not taught to actually be themselves. They're taught to be what they're not. And sometimes it can stem from childhood. It can stem from that. Yes, it can. It can, whether good or bad, But what I do know is that if you love yourself and you want to have a decent life, you have to take your power back. Okay. I actually was listening to a sermon yesterday, which I do a lot of times. I find it very uplifting, and I don't associate my belief in God with what they're pushing out here. I just don't. We're not even close in proximity to what they're pushing out here on the television. We're not one and the same. We're not one and the same. And no, it was actually Saturday. It was actually Saturday evening. He was a guest speaker of this other church, and he was talking about how when he grew up, his father was into drugs and was trying to get him to inhale weed smoke. And he kept, this was a pastor's testimony, he kept celibate until he got married. That was, I don't know if that was a religious thing or if that was a personal choice. I don't know, don't really care. But he felt the need to share that. I don't know why, but he felt that he needed to share that, he kept himself abstinent until he got married. A man, which is right nowadays, in general, they don't really talk about men being virgins. It's only women being quote unquote virgins, right? And he was talking about how his father, from a very, very young age, was trying to get him to take party drugs, do weed every now and then, like do things that basically are not deemed healthy in his opinion, right? But as a child, his father tried to teach him how to roll a blunt, teach him how to do certain things that he obviously did not feel comfortable with. And he was talking about how when he was a late teenager, he wanted to live a different life. He saw what his parents did, or more particularly his father did, and he wasn't comfortable. This is a pastor talking now. He wasn't comfortable. So he was sharing with us that he made a choice. He made a choice and said, you know what? I don't want to be a drug user. I don't want to do weed. I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And so he chose that life. And then as he got older, he went off to college, don't have to, but he went to, it was his choice. He went to college, yada, yada, yada. And then after that, obviously he met his wife. And then down the line, he was saying that, he was talking about how his life is so different because in his family, in his gene pool, it's really about like abusing drugs. And so he was talking about how like I made a conscious decision to like think for myself and to not do drugs. So with that, I'm giving you guys an example of like authenticity can show up in a lot of different ways. It can show up in not repeating toxic behavior. And whether religious or not, that's a choice. It's a human choice. Because he wasn't a pastor then when he made that choice, and he wasn't a Christian either. He was a regular boy who didn't like what his dad was doing and said, you know what, I don't want to live like that. He wasn't, in his words, saved. He wasn't a pastor until he was like 19 years old. He was a very young child, a very young boy, I should say, when his father was trying to get him into drugs. But that's a choice, nothing to do with religion. That's a choice as a young adult, as a teenager. It's really not even an adult, but as a teenager, like that was a choice. It was a choice that, I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to live like that. And that's just the human spirit. The human mechanism that's within all of us is to make good decisions. We don't all make good decisions, but we can. But we can. We can choose to not name call. We can choose to make wise decisions for our life, for our future. Nothing to do with going to church. He chose to go to church because that was what he was attracted to. But he also made a note that he had a lot of Muslim friends, right, who were raised in that faith. He's not Muslim, but he had college and high school that happened to be Muslim. Why? Because when they were children, they were introduced. The key word is introduced to being a Muslim, or they were taught to be a Muslim. So I'm saying now as an adult, authenticity is very important, and it's respectful. Even if someone is a drug user, like if they don't want to get help, right? And if they don't want to not use drugs, they're adults. The reality is they have their own money. It's their money. They can do that. Does it make it right if children are witnessing that? Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But if we have free will, we have free will. And we don't have to like it. We don't have to understand it. But as you get older, as you become a young adult, an mature, an elder, as life progresses, as life evolves, you have to take your power back from whatever happened to you, whatever people said about you, whatever has gone on. As time progresses, you still have to take your personal power back. He could have let what his dad did shape how he saw other people. He could have used what he experienced shape how he was to be a dad. But instead he chose not to. So can a person be a good person without being in a religion? Absolutely. Can a person be a decent citizen without going to a building? Absolutely. 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 And that should be what people, if anything, want to strive for is, are you contributing to happiness? Are you contributing to peace? Are you contributing to common sense reforms that make people come together opposed to coming apart? That's what should be on the table of anything. Not how we can hate more, not how we can control more, not how we can criticize more. It should be about what is going to bring people to be their highest and best self, to their ability, to their jurisdiction, to their opinion. That is people's right, is to live your life authentically. And anyone trying to take the authenticity from you doesn't want the best for you. I can't tell you to be a doctor if you want to be a DJ. I can't make you a good doctor if you're not a doctor. If you're a DJ, you're a DJ, right? I shouldn't want to make you a doctor if you're a DJ, right? Just for an example. So you have to be authentic. Authentic is of the highest vibration. And we have to respect, and I respect that people, I respect people who want to stay here in America, I respect those who don't. I respect those who, even what happened yesterday, I respect people who felt like that is what they believe. Right. But I don't have to agree, but that's what they do. And to keep it cute, keep it cordial. You see what I'm saying? But like hurling insults, bad mouthing people is not gonna make anybody come closer together. It's just not. And the kind of things that people are saying, even especially on these like TV programs, are very toxic. And America has been overtaken by this. And, to the real Americans who, have been born and raised here, like, you gotta hope for a miracle at this point, because the plot's been lost and people are hurting and people are confused. And as the Bible says, like, God is not the author of confusion, and I feel that, and not in the way that it's been twisted. I'm saying, like, in terms of like what's in your heart. When you feel something in your heart, it feels to be right, it feels to be true, it feels good, it makes you feel warm, it makes you feel happy, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about twisting that phrase in an opposite direction. I'm talking about like what feels right in your heart. When you smile at somebody, does that feel good in your heart? When you give someone a compliment, does that feel good in your heart? Yes, it does. It does feel good. And that's what God is. God is love. God is not hate. God is not judgmental. Okay? He's not. And in fact, the quote unquote devil is, because the devil will put thoughts of self-doubt in your head if you believe in the devil, even if you believe in that. But I'm using their lingo. If you believe in that, then that's what you would call the ego, right? Or they have different phrases for it, right? Everyone has a different perspective on what the devil is, and that's a whole other can of worms. But what I'm saying is authenticity is of the highest frequency, next to calmness, peace, and love. And that speaks for itself. These are vibrations. These are things that they say you dwell upon, you meditate your heart upon, that feel good to you. When you're meditating on things that this person said on TV, that was offensive, right? That doesn't make you feel good. That makes you feel icky. That makes you feel dirty. It makes you feel like, ugh, like that's awful. Like, why would you say that? Why would you do that? Right? It doesn't feel good. So, scrapping all of that, whatever feels good in your heart, it makes your heart warm. You feel happy. You feel like, wow, you feel at peace. You feel zen. You feel calm. Like, that's what I want to meditate on. That's what I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on trying to understand what people say that I think is rude and what I think is troubling. I don't want to do that. Like, all that made me do is just go more away into good vibrations, good emotions, good feelings, good thoughts, because your good thoughts can also produce good feelings, and those good feelings produce good days, and those good days produce good months, and those good months produce good years. That's what I care about. I'm not focused on the hatred. I'm not focused on the name calling. I'm not focused on none of that. And I'm not going to try to understand it no more. I'm done trying to understand and rationalize that kind of toxic behavior. I do not accept it, and I don't want it. I don't want it in my life. I don't want it in my life. I don't want it in my life. And that's why after all of that, I just laid down and I meditated. And when I meditated, there was hardly any words. It was like white noise. I think you call it white noise. And I was just calm. I was just calm, you know what I'm saying? And after, when I woke up and saw people's reaction and how people were so disturbed by it, I yearned, and I felt like, wow, so many people are feeling the same way that I feel. And that's why I came on here with you all. Okay. So whether you know, Feel how I feel or not, whether you're a Democrat, Republican or not, as long as you are full of love in your heart, you're welcome here. And that's all. And that's genuine. Like, I don't want anyone to feel like they're not able to think how they think, but we don't need to impose how we think on other people, right? If I'm Muslim and you're Christian, I don't need to try to convert you and vice versa. If you're Christian, I'm Muslim. We don't need to convert each other. We don't need to try to debate anything. Like if you're Muslim and I'm Christian, that should be okay. Why is that not okay for us to just coexist? Why can't we just love each other? Why can't we respect each other? I don't need to convert you, and you don't need to convert me. We don't need to convert anybody. Let people think and live how they want to think and live. The world is big enough for all of us. And that's genuinely how I feel, guys. And if someone is an atheist, they're an atheist. If someone's an agnostic, they're an agnostic. If someone's considers themselves a spiritual person and they're not quote unquote religious, that is okay too. There is no right or wrong way. It's what you feel and hear. And if you claim any title, but in your heart is cold, you have no sympathy, you have no empathy, you're farther away from God than you actually think, right? Because everybody who claims they've died and gone to heaven or whatever, all we talk about is love. They don't talk about skin color. They don't talk about sexuality. They don't talk about none. All we talk about is love. I felt love. It was love. That's it. And love can save us all. It can. But collectively, the world has to make that decision, that choice, I should say. And it hasn't. It hasn't. Some countries have, and they're doing better than others. And America is not one of them, unfortunately. America is not one of those countries right now that wants to coexist with anybody. It wants to isolate itself. It wants to make itself like an island. It doesn't want to try to build community. It wants to push people out. And that's the opposite of God's love, if that's what you want to call it. Okay? It's the opposite. And until things go in the vibration of love and understanding and just general respect, it's going to take a long time to change. But I'm wishing the best, after seeing the future king and queen, Prince and Princess of Wales, Catherine and William, when they were at the UK state visit, you just hope that one day, people can learn to just respect each other and to stop trying to force their opinions on other people. And, if you don't fit in somewhere, you don't like what you see, then just don't go towards it. Just back away, just back away and exit. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. You don't have to be pointing at nobody's face. You don't have to be calling anybody a slur. You don't have to be debating anybody. You don't have to do none of that. All you got to do is exist. That's what animals do. They exist. Animals exist. Animals lay and exist. They relax. And out of all the species on this planet, people are not relaxed. People are not enjoying life. They're hating life. They're not even happy to be living. And that's awful, because like the pets can enjoy life, the birds and the bees, they can enjoy life. But here we have millions of people, dreading life. Every day they're dreading to get out of bed. They don't want to live. They don't even want to be here. That is alarming, and you have to ask yourself, why? Why is that? It's because of things that are wrong in the world, that are wrong for human beings, the conditions in which we're living, the matrix, if you will. Like we're in this kind of conditioning, toxic box of toxicity. And then you wonder why people are so unhappy, and are so and so on the edge all the time, you know? They're always on the edge. It's like, chill out, like, relax, you know? And the whole debating thing, I think is questionable, you know? Because if the way you're debating is only baiting people to argue with you, you're not actually solving anything. You're not solving anything. All you're doing is getting a rise out of people, you know? Um, you can watch any debate anywhere. I've watched debates with different scientists and whatnot on religion and verse this and verse that. And at the end of the day, people are going to think what they want to think. That one debate is not going to change an atheist into a Christian if they're not a Christian. It doesn't work that way. People are still going to think how they want to think. The toxic part of debating is that people are going to push their view. They're going to argue. And what I'm saying is that's not actually helping, because people are still going to think how they want to think. Maybe they'll have a one or two breakthrough moment where they can see the same, but the thing is, why do we need to convince anybody of anything? That's what I don't understand. It's like, why do I need to convince you of what I believe? Right? If I like crystals, but you don't like crystals, I don't care to convince you why liking crystals is good versus bad. I don't care, right? If I like crystals, but you don't like crystals, you don't believe in crystals, you don't particularly like crystals, for example, just an example. I don't have the need to convince you that crystals are good, that crystals are beautiful, that crystals are a benefit to the body, to the mind, to this. I don't have to convince you of that. I don't want to convince you of that. And so I guess my perspective is different. Is maybe some people, they enjoy that. They enjoy getting a rise out of people. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy having somebody yell in my face. And to me, that sounds very toxic, because I don't want someone to be yelling across the mic to me about anything. You're free to think, go in peace. Go in peace. You can think what you want. You can do what you want. I don't care, you know? I don't care. It don't affect me. It don't change my mind. It don't change your mind. So what would be there? What is there to debate about? I don't get it. I mean, what is the purpose of that? Because especially if they're adults, they're going to think what they want to think at the end of the day. Like, people are still going to think what they want to think. And once again, this superior complex, you thinking that you're going to turn somebody, is weird, because you're not. You're not. And if you do, why? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to take away someone's free will to think what they want to think? I don't want to debate you. I don't want to argue with you. You can do what you want to do. I don't care. I don't care. It's almost like if you were in a relationship with somebody, right? And all they do is argue, right? Every day, all they do is just blow up your phone, and every little thing you do, they have a problem with, and they kiss their teeth, and they curse at you. At some point, you're going to leave, right? If you have self-respect, you're going to leave, right? If you're with somebody and all they do is argue with you, at some point, you're going to get sick and tired. You're going to say, you know what? Deuces. Bye. See ya. Carpe diem. I'm out of here, because you know what? I don't have to live like this. All you want to do is argue with me. You don't like what I have to say. You don't like what I do. We always have disagreements. There's no point to that. There's no point. There's no actual point. There's no point. So living in peace with other people is such a good feeling. Is it not? It's a great feeling. It's a beautiful feeling when you're around people who just want to be good people, like decent people. It's a lot better vibe and vibration when you're around people who just want to be peaceful. You know, why would a peaceful person who is peaceful within themselves want to be around people who are not peaceful? I repeat, Why would a peaceful person want to be around people who are not peaceful? They wouldn't. They wouldn't be there. So that mirror reflects to us what we're doing wrong and what we're doing right. And if I'm around the people that all they want to do is debate me and argue with me and yell at me, I'm not going to be around them for long. I'm going to be like, bye, see ya, because I don't need it. I don't need the drama. I don't need the stress. Okay. So authenticity, peace, and love. These are things that feel right to the heart, feel right to the body, to the mind, to the spirit. And it makes you feel good. And anything that's not in that vicinity does not resonate with my frequency. And so my heart goes out to people who are having a tough time. You know, they're having a tough time, especially in America. They're confused by what's going on. They're disturbed by what's going on. And I just want to encourage you, like, just be a calm person, you know, steer clear from these so-called debates, you know, and these weird interactions. Like, there's nothing good comes of it. You know, it's just to rile people up. It's just to get them to get them out of character. It's a form of energy harvesting. That's what it is. And you don't have to engage in it. You don't have to answer to it. You don't have to live that way. You can choose to be a happy person, a calm person, a loving person. You don't have to be what they are. You don't have to. You don't have to be a monster. You can be an angel instead. So thank you all for watching. I love you guys so much. I really hope this video gave comfort to somebody that, you know, there's a better way to live. You don't have to live in strife with people. You don't have to live, you know, in taking all this negativity, this Twilight Zone energy. You know, you don't have to. You don't have to. It's a choice. You know, turn the TV off, right? Turn it off. You know, disengage from hot topics, you know. Just do you. Have fun. Enjoy life, you know. Have fun. You know, when's the last time you had fun? You just, you know, let down your hair or had a good day, you know. So many people have never not even had a good week, you know. Today is Monday, you know. Why not try to think of how I'm going to have a good week and just let all this craziness go, you know, let all of it go. You know, take extra naps, go for a walk, you know, have fun. Because dwelling upon the opposite is just, it doesn't feel right. For me, it doesn't even feel good within here. My heart, it doesn't feel good. And I made the decision yesterday. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. I just want to be, I want to be happy and I want to stay happy and I want to be healthy. And I want to stay healthy and I want to be in a vibration where my life feels good. My life feels good and every day feels good to the best of my ability. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on trying to understand any of the divisiveness. I don't care. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to focus on what feels good, what feels right, and what feels pure. And that's what I care about. And that's what I want people to understand, is that you can live happily. You don't just because the world's on fire, just because America's on fire, you have a choice. You know, you have a choice and you can make certain choices that are going to make your life and your day beautiful. And that is something that I want you to take your power back. Take your power and know that, you know what, because the world's on fire doesn't mean I have to be. I could be as cool as a cucumber. I could have a great sleep. I could have a great week. And I could have a great year. And you can have that. You can have that. Okay, so love you guys again. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Bye. Subscribe, heart, share. Bye.